Hello, hello, and welcome to the Magnificent Abundance Manifesto for our Manifestation Week. Today is Wednesday, so this is Manifestation Wednesday, and the theme of today is trauma in the way of manifestation. So let's get started. I hope I can. Yes. Okay, so why do I talk about trauma when it comes to manifestation? I mean, what's the deal here? Well, actually, it's a really big deal. If you are struggling to get results in your manifestation process, if you have followed the rules, if you have done everything that you've been told, if you've been super dedicated, and yet results don't show up, well, there is a really high chance that there is something deeper underneath the surface that is blocking your manifestation. So if you are a big doer, right, and you keep implementing and doing, and then you keep facing challenges and things, unexpected obstacles, and things go wrong at the last minute, people turn their back on you or they let you down, and then you keep going through all of this drama, well, there is a high chance that you are carrying in your energy something that keeps attracting this drama in your life. And one of the reasons of this drama is you have experienced trauma earlier in your life as a child, and you might have dismissed it and completely dissociated with this, and that's why it's not really straightforward for you. And also you might not really relate to the fact that that is causing your manifestation not to happen or to be delayed or to be sabotaged, because trauma, whether you've been through emotional abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, or even neglect, and then sexual abuse even, is leaving some very deep imprint and scars in your energy. And also, for those who are very much into healing, or even not, you might have heard that cells have memory. So even though you have processed the experiences, if you still remember them, and yet crap is still happening in your life and you keep getting sidetracked and things are not panning out the way you want them, it's because you haven't processed them and release them from an energy standpoint, and it's still stuck in your cells, even physically in your body. Oftentimes this can lead to illnesses and disease. And if you don't do the healing journey process, then you're going to experience all of these horrible things without really understanding where it comes from, apart from the fact that you're aware that you had trauma, but you can't really put them together, and you're like, this is so unfair, I'm a good person, and yet why is all this crap happening to me? So that is one reason. So even if you do all the things by the book and you are a good person, but you're still struggling, then it's because your trauma hasn't been healed and it's still in your field. So let's talk about trauma itself, and then we're going to look into how to, deal with it and release it. So I talked about it can be varied. It can be emotional, spiritual, physical, sexual, and all of it. It can be bullying as well. It can be your family that keeps relying on you and take you for granted. And somehow, because you have a lot of empathy and you have suffered from emotional neglect, this is how you expect to get love, by giving a lot. And you go into overgiving. Oftentimes, those who have suffered of emotional neglect and abuse tend to overcompensate in their adult life by overdoing for others, forgetting the sense of self, not putting your needs first, not realizing that you do have needs because you're so focused on other people's needs. In fact, you know their feelings and emotions better than them, but when it comes to yours, you have no idea how you feel. These are the signs that you might have suffered from trauma, and then you have completely dissociated yourself with your own sense of self. That means you have no idea what feels good for you, and you tend to put other people's needs before yours. Another way that you can identify this is that you have become numb to yourself, numb to your own emotions. You don't really know how you feel. So you go often here in your mind. That's where you hide. That's where it all makes sense. You make decisions, you live a life. But as you know, that's not what creates alignment and fulfillment, a sense of inner peace, a sense of, inner happiness. And you tend to be a lot in the doing. So it can be extreme, from one extreme to the next. Some people will go into overdoing and feeling restless. Some others might go into apathy and not really feel like doing anything. They don't really know why, and they are quite depressed. Until they decide, okay, enough is enough, and then they go and start doing things. But it's two sides of the same coin if you can't really connect with the pain that you're really, really trying to avoid feeling. And that is something that I've seen with many clients, that I've also personally experienced and discovered. And I was shocked, considering that I didn't even realize that it was there. And I fell from my chair many times. And I did put a post earlier this week where I put that joy face from Friends, right? And I was like, oh my God. Because when the pain is so deep, so strong, there is a tendency to not want to connect with it and to avoid it and to run from it. And if also you have addictive tendencies, it's another form of escapism where you don't want to feel. And that is what is going to be in the way of your manifestation. So, how do you deal with it? Good question. So I recommend to work with someone who has expertise. This is not something you will be able to do by yourself. I didn't do it by myself, because if you're in the middle of your pain, of your trauma, how can you see your own pain and remove it? It's like pulling your own teeth, right? It's too painful. Of course, you're not going to even want to do it. And you might not even be aware of this. I mean, I wasn't. So that is something that I highly recommend, to go and work with someone who has expertise, but also empathy, that really understands and feel you. Because if you go with someone who just does, and you need to be able to have that feeling that the person can relate to what you're saying, and can, not really that they have to have been through the same exact thing, but you want them to connect with how you feel. To me, it's important. And that's what works best between a client and the healer. You know, you need to have a good connection. Another thing that I feel also is important, oftentimes, you might be in denial. Particularly if you have been around people who are narcissistic, psychopath, sociopath. I've been actually listening to some really interesting content around that lately. And very, 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 very common aspect of it is that you would be in denial and you really want to jump to the positive side of it without processing how you're feeling. So you want to be upbeat, but not really accept the fact that you are feeling terrible inside. And again, it's because you are feeling so much pain that you'd rather dismiss it, push it under the rug, and then say, I'm good, everything is fine. But then you become another version of Tony Robbins, where you are hyperactive, or the opposite, or you're totally in apathy, and it's not helping either, because this pain needs to be processed. So how is it coming in the way of your manifestation? Well, the trauma, like everything else that is of a low vibration, creates densities of energies that is going to be in your body, in your field, that is going to divert the good stuff from coming to you for many underlying reasons that I'm not going to go into today as such, but I'm going to give you the big picture because that's what matters. So the fact that you're not dealing with it is going to lead you into a distorted view of your reality. And because you're living in some sort of lie that you are living towards yourself, then because that you have a distorted perception of reality, then a lot of things that you're going to do are not going to be serving you. And you're going to start to become either codependent and enabling people that you shouldn't, accept people that in your life that are actually taking advantage of you as opposed to be supportive of you. You're going to let people walk over you. You won't have boundaries for around yourself and even towards yourself. You're going to be well, the very simple word to say is you're going to be quite screwed up. But I'm going to look for a more sophisticated way to say it. You are going to not really realize that you are actually doing things that are not serving you. Because your perception is screwed and skewed. Oftentimes, the adult that has suffered from trauma and particularly from emotional abuse, neglect, and other type of abuse will really suffer from love deprivation. And love is a very important foundation for our emotional health, our emotional development. And if you don't have it as a child, you are going to want to have that needs met later because you're not balanced emotionally, and you will start having weird interactions with people energetically, because you will become a people pleaser as well, and you will do things that are not honoring you, because you really hope to have a drop of love in return. And that's what you will do, not really knowing this is why you're doing what you're doing, but it's going to be it's going to lead whatever you're doing. It's going to be at the source of whatever interaction you have. And because you're love starved, So that's what you're going to go after. Everybody that is going to give you a drop of attention or love, well, usually it's not true love, considering that you are not healthy emotionally, considering there has been this deprivation of love. You might confuse attention with love. You might confuse, you might look for excuses for people who tend to abuse your kindness. And you will tend to be more enabler towards those who are abusive towards you. So it creates a lot of weird stuff. So can that be healed? Absolutely. How? Again, I would highly recommend you to work with someone who will be able to pinpoint where the pain is, what happened, when it happened, and to help you process it, but also to remove the scars that it left in you. So, and that's why you have self-sabotage as well, right? That's why you might also have a lot of suppressed anger. You might have a lot of inability to really feel free to be who you want to be, because you're so scared of the reaction of those that you expect love from. You don't really have a way of relating to people around you that is totally independent. It's like your self-worth depends on someone else's validation. You will expect them to praise you all the time or to tell you how amazing you are, because you have that deep sense of low self-worth at the same time. So that's what happens when you don't heal the trauma that has affected you. And I've seen it affecting so many people that I've worked with. And when I remove the scar, the pain, and I heal the wound, then it's a transformed person that I see. And that's where the magic is. That's why, I talk about bringing magic into your life. Well, the magic is healing whatever wound you have. And if you have had trauma, then that needs to be addressed very, very deep at the core when it starts. That and as well, you might have trauma from a past life. Did you know that it is actually possible that you have some sort of a memory in your memory cell as well, that doesn't come from this life but come from a previous life. And I'm going to be even weirder right now and talk about alternate realities. So it doesn't really matter, but that needs to be dealt with, and you have to work with someone who knows what they're doing and who will get you the results. Otherwise, they can screw you up a little more. Obviously, I'm not saying that to scare you, but choose the person you want to work with because you feel that you can trust them. And that's really going to help you. Yes. Hi, Kayan. Glad to see you on the live. Do you have any question for me around that? Because it is really affecting so much. I mean, it's affecting a lot of people, much more than we can actually realize, because it's it's a mean situation that it's not oftentimes so obvious on the surface. When you don't want to wake up in the morning because you feel shitty, you might not even realize it's because you've had trauma as a child. That's why you can't have a proper life. alternate reality, so like another version of me that made all the right decisions in life. Well, right or wrong, it's different reality. Yes. And so if you have experienced trauma and you've seen someone that has helped you, but you're still going through some sort of depression and you feel still shitty about your life, but it's a lot of up and downs, that means there are stuff that still needs to be looked into and dealt with. You can actually, it is possible to have a blissful life despite having gone through trauma, provided you have the right healers that is going to do the work with you, on you, through you. And that's very, very important. It is possible to feel completely healed and blissful and happy. Again, you need to work with the right person. So that was it for today that I wanted to share. Yes, I didn't really mention the abusers. Should I? Let me ask to my intuition. Yes, I should. Yes, I might put a post as well a little later around that. But most of the abusers around that have a typical profile that I did mention a little bit earlier. They are narcissistic. And also psychopath, apparently. I know it's big words, it's very cliche, right? I don't really like to use these very strong words. Maybe because it's still my denial thing going on. But actually it's true. And psychopaths are not necessarily those who kill people that we watch on movies. They are people who lack empathy, who will hurt someone and feel okay with it, or not really even having remorse or anything. The narcissistic person has a very, he has a grandiose sense of self. And most of these people feed off others' energies. And they don't really care about people because they don't have empathy, remember? So what they care about is more themselves, and they tend to feel very much sorry for themselves and can adapt to different environments just to show a nice version of themselves, and yet they can be a horrible, cruel person the next minute with the person that they feel they can abuse. So and it's more common than you think. In fact, there is also some sort of statistics or books that have been written that, like psychopaths are those who are mostly promoted in an organization. I'm not going to go there, even though it's totally true. But let's stick to the fact that if you've been experiencing trauma and you've had abuse from people who were mean to you and horrible and didn't have any sense of humanity towards you because they're so self-centered, that's enough to, decide to heal yourself. And the rest is just about making sure that you don't let other type of people get close to you or give them access to you. And sometimes because you've been soaked in that crappy energy for so long, and since you've been a child, you don't even realize that what a toxic person is like, because that's all what you've known. That is where you need to raise your awareness. This is where you need to create a sense of understanding of that. That's why I would then encourage you to try to understand if you've identified with any of the symptoms I talked about, because then you, with that awareness, you can act accordingly and not allow anybody that is going to drain you to get close to you, and you will be able to start working on having stronger boundaries with people and not let anybody walk over you like, they own you or something. And that's super important. So hopefully I don't have what's giving me issues from a past life, because that doesn't seem on anyone. It should, I don't know, die out with a previous life. Well, for you, I have a feeling it's mainly this life, but there is that sense of numbness that we talked about at some point, that you need to work through and raise your awareness in this current life. Right now, don't bother about previous life. First, this life to start with. It might have come from something from the past, but the strong sense I'm getting for you is this is current, and the issues that you have has been passed on. It's a family thing. It's a family lineage thing that you have inherited without even knowing, and yeah. So if I were to work with you, for example, I would cut cords with your family lineage and do some sort of cleansing and healing and take you out of that family energy that you've been soaked in. That's the first step. And that is very important for your well-being. Exactly. That's good to know. Yes, and it's quite a lot, actually. Yeah. So, if you have any question around that, if you have experienced trauma and you want to remove that and you want to really move forward in your life and have a blissful life and finally getting the wealth that you want, or the love that you want, the health that you want, and somehow you're still struggling, well, that a high chance that if you've done everything by the book and things are still not working out, so there is a chance that the trauma, that you've had trauma and that you haven't managed to take it out of your field. If you're suffering with low self-esteem and you're struggling to say no to people, that boundaries is actually something you've been struggling with. And sometimes it doesn't mean you have no boundaries with everybody. It can be you have boundaries with some people, but when it comes to love, well, it just disappears. That means you need to do some really deep work on that, on the love aspect, because as I mentioned earlier, you might have been love deprived, and that's where you need to heal. So it's really a very interesting topic, because there is so much pain that a lot of people haven't realized they've experiencing, and then they start drinking a lot, they start going into addictive patterns, gambling, addictions, a lot of that. So you might not know this is related unless you've been doing some sort of research or inner work already. So that's what it is about. So I am going to drop the link in the title. I think it's in the title, so above or below, as I said usually. And if you want to work on this, I will be very happy to take you through that healing journey and create a massive transformation for you. Quantum, because it's all quantum with me, because it's so quick and strong. And because I'm the best healer you will ever meet. It's true though. So If you have any question, don't hesitate to put them in the comment below and I will get back to you. And on that note, I will love you and leave you. Any last question before I close the live? Let's see if there was other comments before. There were people who joined. Hi, Brian. Hi, Millard. Thank you for joining, Kayin, and listening. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Daniel. And yes. So, I'm going to love you and leave you and wish you happy manifesting, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye. Oh, and by the way, you can see me every day live on my streaming platform, YouNow. It's younow.com/Sabrina_MAM, I think. So if you want to see more of me, or if you want specific theme, it's on this platform. All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, share, like, and put a comment under the video. Bye and happy manifesting!